Hey guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another tier list. Today we are going through last week's, as I mentioned last week, it's going to be a weekly thing where in each week of the transfer list I'm going to go through the rumours that are on the BBC forum, or the BBC gossip column page, I guess, day by day. Find anyone that's linked to United or linked to leaving United, and then talk about them, basically. It's the simplest way of doing it, it's the quickest way of doing it for me. I don't want to go through miles and miles of rumours and speculation. I'd rather just get it all in one place so it makes it easier. That's why I get this list from. So, with that semantics out of the way, here are the ins and outs of this week. We have 6 ins, rumours, and 2 outs. Obviously, I expect more than that to happen, but we'll see how we go. First off, Gianluigi Donnarumma, currently at PSG, Champions League winner not too long ago, currently at the Club World Cup with Paris Saint-Germain. Rumoured to be wanted by United and I believe it was Chelsea. Let's just put that there. Why would Donnarumma leave PSG? There is no reason to, unless there is some kind of falling out with him. Why would they want him to leave? He's been phenomenal for them. There is no point. So I don't think that will be the goalkeeper coming in. If there was a goalkeeper to come in, I believe it's going to be Emi Martinez. I've seen a few rumours of that coming about, that Onana's going to be out, possibly to Leverkusen, and that Emi Martinez will come in. Bit of a pain because he's going to miss the first 1 to 3 games of the season because he got red carded. But we'll see what happens with that. Next upon our list is Hugo Ekitike, currently at Frankfurt. Now, I had a look at Ekitike in terms of his stats. His stats are pretty decent. He got double figures last season for goals within the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga has been quite hit and miss going from there to the Premier League. So it's a kind of half and half in terms of the risk. It's going to be, I think, between Ekitike and GYOKER-YES. I think Amarin wants GYOKER-YES. I think that there's a lot of information about GYOKER-YES we're going to get to in a minute. But I think the United as a whole, in terms of the board, the shareholders, everything like that, and the people behind the scenes, I think they would prefer Ekitike because he's younger, he may cost more, but there's more sell-on value later on, and you can still get him into a decent price range. I think that's where the kind of value sticks. Frankfurt won €100 million. Well, I think they'll get that. I don't think so. I think they'll get less than that. But again, it depends on who is involved. So I'm going to go and give it a 50-50 because I think it's less likely, but I can't rule it out. So it's a bit of a weird one, that one. But yeah, that's where I think we're going to go with that one. Next, GYOKER-YES, rumoured to be the next one up if the Mbeumo deal doesn't go through. I've not seen any rumours on Mbeumo this week on the BBC columns I've looked. But it does look like it's going to be us or Spurs that get him. Now Spurs have got Thomas Frank. I've seen reports that Mbeumo wants to go to Spurs because of Frank. I've seen reports saying that Mbeumo is all in on United. It could go anywhere with that one. That is a complete mystery for me. The Eze one, I think, is less likely. I think it's a 25er, just because he's the backup, in a sense. He's the next man to look at if the Mbeumo deal doesn't go through. So that's where I think that's less likely. I will like Eze. I think he's a very good player. A little bit injury prone, which is a bit of a worry. But I think he would do a lot for United, and I think he'd improve our forward line dramatically. Next, we talked about him last week, Victor GYOKER-YES. I said this was a near enough done deal. Reports this week have said that Arsenal want him and that he wants Arsenal, and then there was reports saying he wants United, and there was reports saying he's rejected United, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know anymore. I genuinely don't know anymore. I'm going to give it a 50%. I think it's between those two strikers. One of these two comes in, and I'm 50-50 on which one it's going to be. I don't know who I want anymore. That's the worry about it all. I'm not sure. It's getting a bit ridiculous with GYOKER-YES. I think Sporting are playing the market, trying to get the best possible cost for GYOKER-YES. I think it's going to cost them in the long run if they continue to do that. but we'll see what happens. For me, it makes more sense for it to be. I don't know. I don't know who I'd prefer, Gyökeres or Ekitike. Ekitike has a lot more of the Højlund vibes about it, where it's a young player coming in, not massively established and not knowing of the Premier League. Obviously, Gyökeres played in Coventry in the Championship, not quite English football, the Premier League English football, but still English football. I feel like Gyökeres is more suited for United, and obviously for Amorim. But it's very difficult to pinpoint which one's which one it's going to be. With that, additionally, we have Victor Osimhen. I think this is less likely. As I mentioned, I think it's going to be between the one or the two above him. He has been rumoured elsewhere this week, but it just basically said United are still interested. So I think the interest is cooling down on Osimhen. I think that Napoli are playing hardball. There has been rumoured that they want Garnacho and they want Højlund. Maybe a partial swap deal can be done there, and we can win on the cost for Osimhen. Obviously, I like Osimhen. He's a very good player, and he has scored goals wherever he's gone, whether it be in France, whether it be in Italy. He went to Galatasaray this season and smashed it there. He scores goals wherever he goes. I think you can't really go wrong with that. But the Premier League is a different animal. So it would be interesting to see what happens. And finally, Antoine Semenyo. Now, I think Semenyo is more likely, so I'm going to put him there. Semenyo is more likely than Eze. I think he's another on the list of, if we don't get Mbeumo, these are the people we're going to look at. Very similar to Mbeumo in terms of getting goals from a kind of 10/winger kind of role. I do like Semenyo. I like that United are looking at players within the Premier League that are gettable, well, quote unquote gettable, and that will improve our forward line. Personally, I do think if we end up with and I mentioned this last week, if we end up with a formation or front three of Cunha, Gyökeres and Mbeumo, I would be very happy with that. I think even if you put in Semenyo, I'm happy with that. Ekitike, I do like Ekitike, but I have reservations about it. I think it's down to the Werner situation and the Haller situation. They were both players of similar style and similar playing within the Bundesliga, who then came to the Premier League and did next to nothing. But obviously we have Haaland, so it works both ways. But would you class that as a similar basis because Haaland isn't near enough a cyborg? I don't know. That's the thing. It's going to be a risk whoever we get. I don't think we're in for any Premier League forward. I think the only person we were in for early on was Delap, but obviously he went to Chelsea, so that's not going to happen. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next with all of that. And now onto the outs. There are two outs, as I mentioned. Firstly, it is Rasmus Højlund, heavily linked with Inter Milan, heavily linked to be going in this window. I think that his time at United is up. Did I mention this last week? I may have mentioned this last week. I just think he's not been good enough. I don't think the Premier League suits him. I think he's much better in Serie A. I think he suits him better. I think he's a near enough 75% chance of going. I think that we do end up with a new striker, and once the new striker comes in, off goes Rasmus Højlund. Or if a deal's put in place, it then becomes a factor of one deal sorts the other and sorts the other in a sense. So I think that Højlund will be the man that makes way for the new striker coming in. And finally, Jadon Sancho. It was supposed to be going to Chelsea, but they have returned him Chelsea with a £5 million cost, I guess, because they've had to pay a fine in a sense. It's like a because initially, if you don't know the story, the initial point was that Chelsea must pay £25 million as an obligation to buy Jadon Sancho if they finish 14th or higher. They did so. Obviously, they finished in the Champions League spots, but then didn't want Jadon Sancho. to bring Sancho back to United, they had to pay £5 million to United, which is what they've done. West Ham are interested. I believe Newcastle, I think so, was interested somewhere. I know West Ham's one of them. I've seen that quite heavily rumoured. I think he's actually working in Amorim's system, but I think his time has passed. I think Sancho does leave in this window at some point. I don't know where he goes, but I think he definitely leaves to make way for someone that Amorim is going to want to play. I think the problem with Sancho is that he doesn't suit. He's not the character of what Amorim's looking for. Amorim's looking for players that are going to work for him, do the grunt work, do the dirty work in a sense, kind of all for one in a basis. And I just don't think Jadon Sancho does that. Whether he goes back to Germany, there might be an option, but we'll see. I think Sancho definitely goes. There's a couple I think are 100% nailed on to be leaving United in this window, but we'll see what happens with them. Well, guys, let me know what you think. Out of those 6 ins and 2 outs, what do you think on those? Is there anyone else you think would be coming in or coming out? I bet there's loads. I'm going off what I'm finding on that page. Like this video if you haven't. Subscribe if you are new. I'll keep the subscribers ball rolling. It is starting to tumble nicely. And until next time, guys, take care.